Hello and welcome to Database Basics with the Donnelly Library. In this brief series of videos, I'm going to explain a few basic tools and methods that can be used when making a database search across any platform. Today we're going to discuss the basics of Boolean operators, and I'm going to explain how you can use these when building a search online. So what are Boolean operators? Simply put, these are single words that can be included within a search to help us narrow or expand the specific terms that we are looking for. The most commonly used operators are and, or, and not, and these are probably all you'll ever need when doing a database search. That leads us to the next question: how are they used? I like to think of Boolean operators as math equations made out of words. Just like a plus sign or a minus sign in a math equation indicates addition or subtraction, Boolean operators are database shorthand for more of, less of, or none at all. Let's take a closer look at each of the Boolean operators and see some examples of how they may be used. So let's begin with AND, the narrowing operator. The Boolean AND lets us search for multiple terms or keywords in one search. It's called the narrowing operator because while it does allow us to create more precise searches, it also reduces the number of answers that we receive when we create a database search. As an example, let's say we wanted to do research on how homework affects teenagers and their well-being. We could create the search question homework and teenagers, and the database will return to us only articles that reference both of those terms. Notice that articles that reference only homework or only teenagers will be left out of our results list. Then we have OR, the broadening operator. OR works in the opposite function as AND. It broadens rather than narrows our results list. So what does that mean? When we use OR to connect two search terms in a database search, we're communicating to the database that we would take either word instead of both words. Again, as an example, many database articles may be very medical or scientific in nature and wouldn't use the term teenagers. They would use the term adolescents, in which case you could search teenagers or adolescents, and you will receive any article that contains either term or both terms as well. I do recommend that you only use OR to connect synonyms or words with similar meanings. Otherwise, you could wind up with far too many results to actually be able to process and read through, and you also could wind up with results that don't necessarily relate to what your purposes are. Lastly, we have NOT, the negating operator. Not lets us remove words entirely from our search. It communicates to the database that we do not want articles that contain that particular term. So to use our teenagers example again, perhaps we only want articles about teenagers and we don't want articles about children. We can create the search question teenagers, not children, and the database will provide articles on teenagers and exclude articles on children. But do notice that this also excludes articles that may contain both terms, articles that might actually be useful. So use not sparingly and only in certain situations. So now that we've gone over the basics of how Boolean operators work, I want to quickly discuss how to combine Boolean operators into longer searches. First, obviously, we can search for more terms at a time. As an example, in our original search, teenagers and homework, we could add the third search term, stress, with the Boolean and the result is that we get even more precise answers from our database. We get articles that only include those three terms. It might be tempting then to create a very long search where you connect a bunch of words with the Boolean and anything that you think might be relevant, time management, psychology, etc. This is in general a very bad idea and I don't recommend it. Remember that with AND, we're also reducing the number of answers that we get. So every time you connect another word to your search with the Boolean AND, you're getting fewer answers. And if you keep going far enough, you could actually reduce yourself down to 0. So if AND is the only Boolean operator you're using in your searches, I wouldn't exceed 3 terms. But then what if we wanted to combine different types of operators in one search? In that case, we would use parentheses. It's important to understand that databases in general process Boolean operators in a certain order. Not will always be processed first, followed by and then lastly or. For example, if we typed into a database homework and teenagers or adolescents without any separations the way I'm presenting it here, you will see homework and teenagers processed first, and then the database will process or adolescents. As a result, you'll get articles that are relevant, but you'll also get a lot of articles that only reference adolescents or adolescents and teenagers, but not homework. If we, however, put teenagers or adolescents in parentheses, now we're communicating to the database to process those terms first. The result is that we'll only get articles that contain teenagers or adolescents and the term homework. These kinds of longer searches might take some practice and experimentation on your part, but I think you will find that by using these methods, you'll get more accurate results when doing searches. I hope you find these tips on how to use Boolean operators useful. If you have any questions regarding this or any other subject related to library matters or school matters, feel free to contact us. Our information is on the screen. You can call at 505-426-2275. You could email us at libinfo@nmhu.edu, and you could always contact us through our online reference desk via Zoom, which is in operation anytime that the library would be open. Thank you for your time and happy searching.